Hey everybody, William Wallace here. Thank you for tuning into the show today. For me, William Wallace for America. Today, I'm with St. Charles Parish President Matt Jewell. Matt, thank you so much for coming on there. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Well, no problem. Well, there's a lot of good things to talk about that's happening in St. Charles Parish. It's one of the reasons I've been wanting to catch up with you for a while. I'm glad we finally got to do that. And there's a lot of things happening here that, affect not just your parish, but the whole state. And I wanted you to talk about that. But one of the big questions I got to ask you is, because I had to adjust the camera a little bit, if anybody has heard about you, you're already, how tall are you?
Well, William, thanks for having me on. Firstly, this has been a project kind of in the making for a long time, going all the way back to, I think, over a year ago now,
Yeah.
when we've been talking about getting on your show.
Well, I saw you in D.C.
That's right. So I'm glad we've been able to sit down. To answer your first question, I am 6'11", so just under 7 foot, and it's a good thing, I guess, to be this tall, and it's a great thing. Everybody gets to recognize me and see me when I'm out and about. So
it's hard to miss you.
It is. Yes.
So when you see him out in public, you'll know that's
absolutely
that it's him. So. Well, yeah, I appreciate that little piece of information, because I've always thought it was a good one. So, do they have to do anything special for the doors around here?
No, we always joke that we're going to cut like a little notch in the top so I won't hit my head, but we just haven't. It's very low on the priority list, so we've been sticking to the big picture items for our parish.
Well, enough joking around, I guess. So what is your background anyway for before you ran for parish president?
Yeah, well, look, I'm a 10th generation St. Charles Parish resident on my mom's side. My family history goes back all the way to the mid 1700s when our family came to this area and settled here. I actually still live on a piece of property that has been in our family for a long, long time. I live in the house that my grandfather built, right next door to the house that my great grandfather built, and
that's a good history.
Yeah, it's really a great thing. And then there's actually an old slab behind that where my great grandparents lived, before them. So a lot of family history in St. Charles Parish. My mom was a Baudouin, and Baudouin is a very prevalent name, not only here, but up and down the German coast and up and down the river parishes. And so, a lot of history here. Background, went to Nicholls State University. Before that, I graduated Hahnville High School here on the west bank of St. Charles Parish, and got a degree in government. A degree in business with a minor in government. At Nicholls State University, and worked for Congressman Steve Scalise. Worked my way up from basically an intern all the way to his body man in Washington, D.C. Was able to then go work in the Trump administration at the Department of Energy under Secretary Rick Perry, with Deputy Secretary Dan Briette, who's from Louisiana, and Undersecretary Mark Menzies, who happens to be from Luling, where I'm from. Did that for a while, came back to Louisiana full-time, and worked some more as Steve's district director here for the 1st Congressional District, and then decided I wanted to get into politics myself, and ran for parish president, and here we are. It's been a heck of a year last year.
So parish president was your first run for office?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a nice leap.
Yep.
But what I'm glad to hear about, I wanted to point out is, and I like to recollect on this, what you just shared with us about your experience. I mean, you've got a lot of very unique experience in government, not just on a local level, but on a federal level.
Yeah.
And that brings a lot to the table for not only your position, but for the people of St. Charles Parish.
Yeah, I get to tell people that, I worked for the legislative branch of the federal government and the executive branch of the federal government. Obviously, when I was at the Department of Energy, I worked for one of President Trump's appointees who ran that department. So kind of cool to be able to work for 2 of the 3, branches of government at the federal level. Obviously, at the local level here, I'm working for the executive branch, but I work very closely with the legislative branch and of course our judicial branch at the local level as well. But yeah, a lot of great, so many great stories from working in Washington D.C. Not just from the people I got to meet, but the things I got to see, the legislation that I got to be a part of, working for a member of House leadership as the majority whip, getting to see that process and really getting to see how legislation is crafted was a great experience for me, and I think will help me for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. And I guess it's also like I said, not only that experience, but those connections that you've made on a national level, even with working with the Department of Energy under Rick Perry. Here, there's a lot of energy sources here, a lot of energy going on here in your parish.
Yeah, I mean, when I went over to the Department of Energy, that was really a good fit. I felt for me as being, a Louisiana boy.
Yeah.
Because the energy industry is so prevalent in Louisiana, and it's not, it's not just about oil and gas. It's about nuclear energy. It's about natural gas production and everything in between. And as Louisiana kind of progresses, we'll probably see some of those other sources of energy coming online as well, a little bit more solar and whatnot. But got to work on the policy making of all that. And one of the cool things that a lot of people don't realize is that the Department of Energy actually oversees the production of the nuclear stockpile for the military. So the military is in possession of them. They will, execute the launch of a nuclear weapon, hopefully never.
Right.
But it is created by a civilian organization and is maintained by that civilian organization. It's called the National Nuclear Security Administration, or NNSA.
Right.
And that is a big, conglomerate within inside of the Department of Energy.
This gives you good insight on everything. One of the next questions I asked you was what made you decide to run for office. But from what I'm seeing underlining all of this is, not only love of country, but I want to answer for you, because I want you to answer. But but I love your whole parish where you're from.
Yeah.
But what did make you run for office? Was there a catalyst there?
Well, yeah. Look, whenever I was working for Congressman Scalise as his district director, there was a lot of bad press surrounding St. Charles Parish for one reason or another, and we were looking around, seeing things that should be getting done that weren't getting done, and decided that this is the parish that I live in. This is the parish that my wife is from, and this is the parish we're raising our kids in. And we wanted to be better than it is right now. We want to leave it in a better place than how we found it, right? So I decided that I thought my background with Congressman Scalise, the Department of Energy, my education would lend itself well to this position. So that's when I kind of told myself, I think I can do this, and with full steam ahead, and the rest is history.
All I hear are good things. So we keep talking about St. Charles Parish, but help people visualize what the boundaries of St. Charles Parish are. I know that it starts at Jefferson Parish, but where are the boundaries?
So most people know where New Orleans is. So we are about 25 minutes right outside of New Orleans. If you're looking at St. Charles Parish on a map, north to south, you will see that we are kind of sandwiched in between three parishes. We are sandwiched between Jefferson Parish to our east, St. John Parish to our west, and kind of to our southwest is Lafourche Parish. And so on the west bank we border Lafourche. On the east bank and the west bank we border Jefferson Parish, and then obviously on the east bank we border St. John Parish. We kind of have a little pizza pie that goes out into the middle of the lake, so we got to get our little section of Lake Pontchartrain.
Right.
And then to our south is, open water, Lake Cotahuachi, Lake Salvador. But if you might be familiar with some of our towns, there's Luling along Highway 90.
Okay.
And a great point is, Highway 90 intersects St. Charles Parish on the west bank.
Right.
On the east bank, you have Airline Highway that intersects St. Charles Parish. I-310 intersects St. Charles Parish.
Okay.
But big cities like Destrehan and Luling and Des Allemands, which is the catfish capital of the universe.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
Okay.
not the world, the universe.
Yet another good piece of information.
Exactly. So those are some of the bigger names that people might hear, and those are located inside of St. Charles Parish. We have Kenner to our east, Laplace to our west, and then obviously Lafourche and Terrebonne, further west on the south on the west bank.
That's a pretty big geographical area.
Yeah, about 411 square miles is our size of our parish.
And pretty diverse for that too. But
Yeah.
So how do you balance between two sides of the river? I mean, I know you got a bridge, but
Yeah.
but I mean, Jefferson Parish does the same thing. But how do you find that balance works?
Yeah, I guess I forgot to mention the main thing about St. Charles Parish is that we do straddle the Mississippi River.
Okay.
We do have an east bank and a west bank, but I assume people probably surmise that from
Yeah.
saying east bank and west bank, because that's just such a a cultural thing around here. So the great thing about St. Charles Parish is that we're almost mirror images of each other. You have a lot of industry on both sides of the river, a lot of residential on both sides of the river. The amount of space we have in between, our proximity to water is a little bit different. We have a little bit more wetlands and developable land.
Like Chattahoochee on one and Lake
Pontchartrain
on the other.
We got Pontchartrain to our north, and Cotahuachi, Salvador, Lake des Almonds to our south, and into kind of our east. We're surrounded by water, which makes St. Charles Parish a great place to go fishing, and it's great for sportsmen. But
that balance between the West Bank and the East Bank, there's really no balance. And if they're mirror images of each other, the needs are probably the same.
Yeah, look, the needs are the same. It's job creations, infrastructure, anything in between. And the great thing is that we have a beautiful bridge that connects both East Bank and West Bank and makes it very accessible for one another. But each side of the river has their needs, and I thought it may be a challenge to do that when I came in, but I've really found that I think we were able to find a good balance of work on either side. Both sides of the river need drainage work. The West Bank needs some more hurricane protection levee. Hurricane protection levee, that's one of our main focuses on the West Bank, and we were able to cut the ribbon on two major pump stations and a new floodgate that'll be completed in January 2022.
Because the East Bank has more, I guess, rainfall drainage problem. I guess hurricanes, storms too. But it sounds like is there different of a surge?
No,
I guess with the river or the lake on both sides, of the river, they both have kind of a similar problem when the hurricanes come in. But is there a different flooding issue on both sides?
So it's funny you say that because, last year we had the most active hurricane season in history.
Right.
And it's interesting to see how the path of a hurricane, just within St. Charles Parish, affects each side of the river completely differently. So if you have a hurricane that's coming in, like towards the mouth of the river, and you're going to have an east wind, that's going to cause some problems for our folks in St. Charles Parish who are unprotected by levees with water coming into Lake Pontchartrain, that being months, which is on the other side of the spillway, the Bonnet Carey Spillway runs through St. Charles Parish. We are close to getting levee protection for them. The project should be starting very soon. But the rest of St. Charles Parish actually has a 100-year flood protection levee that goes into Jefferson Parish and is a part of a larger system. On the West Bank, over the past 10, 15 years, there's been a lot of work done to build what we call our West Bank vicinity levee, all the way down to Bayou Gauche and des Almonds. And so a lot of work's been done on that, and that's to protect us from a surge on the south, from south of us, from Lower Barataria. And so we've been doing a lot of work on that. As far as flooding goes, obviously last year we had a couple of major rain events. One of those was around a 500-year rain event in May. So you have a 0.5% chance of having a storm like that in a given year. The other one was, the engineers tell me it's around like a 200-year storm event. But back in December of 2018, there was another flood before I came in.
I remember that. Yeah, that was the one right before you came in. So you walked into a big problem too.
Yeah. So but the great news is that we've been able to make a lot of headway, I believe, since then. And this rain event that we actually had last week, which I would probably chalk up as a 25-year rain event, we saw our drainage systems performing very well. Obviously, we've
a little bit of a test. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a test. I tell folks we have to keep working until our residents are no longer afraid when it rains. They're no longer,
that's a great way. I mean, that's a great statement to make.
Yeah, you cannot. I don't want our residents to fear when rain comes. So we have to continue to work until everybody is at ease when it rains. So that's what we're doing. We have a lot of projects, way more projects than we will have money for, but we are looking to tackle those biggest benefit projects first, and then keep continuing to work year after year on building a better drainage system. Obviously, for this last rain event, the last rain events last year, we did have more of an issue on the East Bank than the West Bank, but the West Bank still has issues too. And that's why when I came in, my main focus was infrastructure. And infrastructure is not a sexy topic.
Right.
It's hard to talk to people about, your average resident about, sewer
Right.
infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's not something fun to talk about. But the other thing is you don't see it, right? It's underground.
Yeah, exactly.
And but if your sewer runs, if it isn't running correctly, and it's you flush that toilet, it goes
They're
the
picking
wrong
up
way.
the phone.
Yeah, and I guess that's where the appreciation
That's
comes
when they
in.
become experts.
Right, and so we're focusing a lot of time on drainage infrastructure, sewer infrastructure, a little bit on water infrastructure. Our water infrastructure is a little bit better than a lot of parishes, so we're good there, but we're constantly making improvements. But that sewer and drainage infrastructure has been a major goal of mine, and we were able to get a lot of things started. When I came in, we initiated a drainage master plan for the entire parish, which hadn't been completed. A comprehensive plan hadn't been completed since 1994, I believe. So I was about 5 years old then.
Yeah.
Okay, and we initiated a comprehensive sewer master plan, which had never been done in the history of our parish.
Wow.
But all of this is being done to allow our parish to really grow into the future. And I think that if we can just keep our eye on the ball on that, we will be able to make good progress
You have
each year.
really, just for listening to all these different projects, you have not let the grass or the water, I guess, for that matter, get under your feet, so to speak. Because I mean, this is a lot of projects going on, and I got to say that's a lot of balls to juggle at one time.
Yeah, well, I guess the thing to think about is, water doesn't care about parish boundaries,
Right.
Right, and Mother Nature's not going to wait for us to get all of our ducks in a row.
Exactly.
So we got to just every day, constantly.
And I guess between the two sides of the river, different needs, different, in some cases, not such different needs. The need for drainage is the same, but with each unique, landscape, we'll say in there. So tell me, is there anything about St. Charles Parish that people really don't know? That's not common knowledge.
Yeah, so if you're not from St. Charles Parish, you might not know that that St. Charles Parish, number one, was called St. Charles Parish after St. Charles Borromeo, and we have a very, very old church that the people in St. Charles Parish, it's St. Charles Borromeo, but we just refer to it as Red Church.
Right.
Ships actually used to use Red Church as a identifier on the Mississippi River to know how close they were to New Orleans when they were traveling up and down. So there's actually, writings from the past where ships would identify this red-roofed church in St. Charles Parish. But even before that, St. Charles Parish was formerly known as the German Coast, which actually extended up into St. John and St. James Parish as well. So back in around 1721, we had a large influx of German immigrants into this area who settled this area along the river because it had very fertile ground, and there were a lot of Indian tribes who lived amongst these lands. So we're actually now in 2021, celebrating the tricentennial of that settlement, and a lot of those same names that have been around for a long time are here. Your Schexneiders, your Vials, all of those names that came here 300 years ago are still around. I
interviewed Clay Schexneider last week.
Yeah, the Speaker of the House. Yeah,
Speaker of the House.
Yeah, and I know he's from around that area too.
He's not too far up the river here. So basically, what industry is most prevalent in your area? And I'm going to get to some legislative questions here in a second too. But what industry is the most prevalent in here?
Yeah, I would say what we call the petrochemical industry in St. Charles Parish is most prevalent. You have a lot of big names in St. Charles Parish. Formerly Monsanto, which is now Bayer, the same people make aspirins. They make Roundup in St. Charles Parish. I think the majority of the world's Roundup comes out of St. Charles Parish. Dow Chemical makes all kinds of products. Shell, of course, is a big producer in gasoline. Valero and Diamond Green Diesel. In a couple of months here, St. Charles Parish will have the North America's largest renewable diesel facility in North America. They are building one, I think, in Texas as well, which might just edge us out.
Yeah.
But for a while, we'll have
that long.
We're going to have. So we're doing renewable diesel out here. We have a nuclear power plant in St. Charles Parish, Waterford 3. We have several gas-powered plants as well. So, as well as grain elevators along the river. So I like to say we feed, fuel, and feed and fuel America. And,
I love this.
And it all comes, passes through St. Charles Parish, and that river that goes through our parish is what makes all that possible.
This is interesting because it makes not only St. Charles a unique place, but this is a lot of information for people who really don't know that much about it. Now they're seeing how much comes out of here. It gives a little bit more respect, I think, that the community deserves and needs.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reason we have such a great parish in St. Charles Parish is that that industry exists.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, employs thousands upon thousands of people with high-paying quality jobs with great benefits. It provides an enormous chunk of money into our tax base, which allows us to have the great schools, the low crime,
yeah, exactly.
The great facilities that we have. So we work very, very well with our industry, and they are great community partners as well. They are constantly helping the United Way of St. Charles Parish. They're constantly donating money to community centers and recreation to do different things. So they have been a great partner, and I think we've seen, upriver when an industry like that closes, the actual effect it has on the tax base. In the case of St. James Parish with Shell, the school system took a really big hit.
I'm glad you brought all this up because a lot of people don't recognize how much big industry does for our communities. Mm-hmm. Like you said, with the donations and actually they end up having more respect for our land than people give them credit for. When I was at Port Fourchon a couple weeks ago, they talked about how much the oil companies do for the environment. Speaking about the environment, are you working with the CPRA on the flooding issues here in the parish?
Yeah, so not so much with flooding issues, but obviously coastal restoration issues. St. Charles Parish has the Davis Diversion, which was a CPRA / core project, and we utilize that diversion to help with saltwater intrusion into the Barataria Basin. So we work with them on a lot of projects. Obviously, we have some projects in the state master plan for some coastal restoration issues. So we do work closely with them. I work closely with my good friend Guy McGinnis, who's on the CPRA board.
Okay.
And we work closely with Chip Klein and Ignacio. And obviously, with all the levee work we're doing, CPRA is what we call our non-federal sponsor for this this West Bank levee and our East Bank levees as well. So we work with them on those projects.
It's good to have the CPR because they're connecting all the flood projects and all the coastal to one, in one place. It's good to have like a central database that a parish or executive of another, city or province or area that can go to find out, what the best way to handle the flooding issue is.
Yep.
Flooding is always a hot topic. We talked about that, but what I want to talk about, there's a legislative session coming up. Is there anything about this coming legislation that will affect St. Charles Parish?
Yeah, well, obviously, look, we work closely with, Randall Gaines, Representative Greg Miller, Senator Gary Smith on a lot of our projects. We have some capital outlay requests for different projects in St. Charles Parish that we'll be pushing that we got in last year. If you know anything about capital outlay, you got to put it in 1 year, and then you got to move it up the ladder until you can get them funded. So we'll be working on things like that. Obviously, there is some legislation that will affect not only St. Charles Parish but every parish, and that's the centralized sales tax collection. So we're working closely with our representatives on that and seeing, kind of following the process and seeing what that final bill will look like. Obviously, that spurred out of looking at basically Mississippi is collecting double the amount of internet sales tax than we are, and I think we have something like twice the population that they do. So obviously, there's a way to go in and do that. And centralized sales tax is something that I know Speaker Schexnayder is pushing. So we'll be working with our representatives to make sure that what comes out of that is going to be beneficial to St. Charles Parish and is going to allow us to keep doing all the great things we do.
Well, not only centralizing it, but in all the parishes, the sheriffs are in charge of collecting sales tax and collecting the residential taxes. But so in St. Charles Parish, the school system actually collects our sales tax. Yeah. I don't know the complete history of that. Yeah.
I know in Jefferson Parish, I believe Joe LaPinto is the largest sales tax collector in the state, or the largest tax collector in the state. but our school system actually collects the sales tax in St. Charles Parish, and they disperse it.
Maybe that's why you all have such good school systems here.
Yeah, maybe so.
Because that was the other question. I mean, y'all have an excellent school system here. I know you mentioned that a little earlier, but you have an excellent school system here that people really. What do you think makes it so good? I guess maybe the answer is they collect the sales tax, but.
Well, look, I think the main answer.
That's a joke, but
yes, the main answer to that is the industry along the river. Obviously, St. Charles Parish has one of the best school districts in the state. We're always, neck and neck with. I forget the other school system. I won't mention them. Yeah. But we are always around the number one school system in the state and ranked very well nationally as well. And one of the other things that we have too is the lowest crime rate in the New Orleans metropolitan area, which really makes St. Charles Parish a desirable place to live, work, play, and we see that in the demand for housing in St. Charles Parish. But I would say the main reason we have such good schools and a great sheriff's department is the ad valorem taxes that are collected from the industry in St. Charles Parish. In fact, industry pays nearly 90% of all the ad valorem tax collected.
Wow.
So it's they are a huge factor in what we collect, and obviously the school gets the largest percentage of that. The sheriff's department gets the second largest percentage. St. Charles Parish gets that last percentage of the sales tax. But that's why you have such great schools. They have great leadership, and Dr. Ken Ortling, who's the superintendent out there, and we work closely with them.
That's fantastic. And then you've just had some elections. Not to bring up the election so much as I wanted to bring up the fact that there's new people coming in office and maybe some new ideas, maybe even help the area a little bit more. Yeah.
So last year we ended up with a vacancy on the council, and we had a special election this. I guess it was just a couple weeks ago now, and obviously Beth Billings won that by a very large margin. Congratulations, Beth. Looking forward to working with you on the council. Beth did a great job going door to door and really, meeting with the people, learning the issues, and her percentage of how she won really reflected that. So we couldn't be more glad to have her on the council and to work with her.
One thing that I get from her and meeting and you and other people that I've met on the council is that y'all really care about the people here in this parish, and that y'all really work hard together to make sure that the best thing is done for the people in the parish.
Yeah, look, we have a great council. All of our council members, care deeply about the areas they represent, whether it's the district councilman or our two at-large council persons. Mm-hmm. They really do care about these areas they represent. They work really hard to make sure that their needs are met, and we work with them to try to do as much as we can to help the residents across the entire parish.
Well, Matt, are there any parting words for the people, for anybody here? Anything that you want to point out a little bit that we forgot?
No, look, I think we covered a lot.
You sure did.
It's an honor to serve the people of St. Charles Parish. We have a lot of work left to do. I think we've been able to make a lot of progress in my first year in office. I hope that this year will be a little bit more of a quiet year with less pandemic and less hurricanes. So I'm keep my fingers crossed on that, and that'll allow us to hopefully get even more stuff done. We're going to continue to work day in and day out for as long as I'm in office to really solve the issues that are most pressing to our residents. And again, it's a privilege and an honor to serve them.
Well, it's an honor to talk with you today, and it's an honor to know how good you're working hard for the parish. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching the video. Please share it with everybody else, and you can find it on a podcast at William Wallace for America, my Facebook page, my YouTube channel are the same name. Matt, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good day now.